I got to tell you something about this Nitro.
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah, you're telling me. First, Vinny, give us the date of this Nitro.
I think I wrote it down wrong because this is January. This same day as Raw, so it would be February 7th of the year 2000.
All right. Wow, exactly. It states February 7th as well, since we're doing this on a Thursday. So, I don't know why I've never noticed this before, but I go to the network, and I go to load it up, and it says Nitro 229.
Okay.
We've watched 229
Yes.
Nitros.
Yeah.
Are you fucking kidding me?
There's 52 a year.
I was ready to kill myself when I saw that. 200 and I've watched 229 Nitros twice.
Yeah.
Are you fucking kidding me?
And you wrote several books about them.
Oh.
Or the same book over and over, but yeah.
That was almost too much for me. That was almost... Forget the Russo ones we watched. When I saw that I've watched 229 Nitros 2 times, I was like...
And there's
what's happening? And it's going to snow.
There's still like 60 to go.
Jesus fucking Christ. Oh.
And it was this one then when you realized that.
This was so bad. Okay, let me tell you something. Those Russo shows were like hideous. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Horrible. Mm-hmm. Okay?
I do.
But like he left, and then Sullivan and the crew came in, and like everybody talks about how boring they are. And like to me... You know, they're definitely more boring than Russo shows, but that's not a bad thing to me.
No.
Like, yeah, they could be more exciting. They could have bigger stars. They could have better wrestling, but they're not bad. They're just kind of there.
They're boring.
Okay.
I will take these boring shows
fine.
Over the horrible Russo shows.
Then I saw this show.
I see.
Okay. Is he back? What in the name of fuck was this show? This show was so bad. Am I wrong? Don't even tell me it was just boring. It was painfully bad.
It was definitely illogical. That's for sure.
I think the biggest thing for me is, as an audio guy who works in audiovisual,
it was
DJs,
horrible.
All of the audio problems that were coming on, it was just a nightmare.
And Danny Hodge is watching this show.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Anyway.
So a recap of Thunder. Jeff Jarrett booked Sid in 3 matches.
Can you imagine?
I'm going to watch Sid Vicious.
I'm not ever watching Thunder again. We're not going to go through the Thunders.
So he apparently beat Mike Rotunda, he beat Rick Steiner, and then beat the Harris twins. And somewhere in there, apparently somebody hit Rick Steiner with a bat. That's what I got out of this. So
I will put them over. At least they recap something.
That's true. They did tell us what happened, kind of. It was better than last week's recap.
So the audio problems are here from the get-go. Jarrett is giving the NWO a speech, but he's drowned out by music.
Yes.
I can't hear a goddamn thing he's saying.
So I believe that they were playing 3 counts music in the ring, but it was bleeding over into backstage, and so they can't use 3 count song, and so they had to dub in another bizarre random song over a horribly produced segment in the first place.
Yeah.
I couldn't hear anything anybody said.
The only thing I got out of this is that Kevin Nash is not there again.
Yes.
So now we go to the ring. We're 3 counts in the ring.
And they're still playing a dubbed song.
They're still playing a dubbed song, but they have... See, this was intentional audio problems. Because the gimmick is 3 counts dancing was being sabotaged.
Yes.
By Norman Smiley from the truck.
Yes.
So the music is skipping and going back and forth. I can only imagine what the network crew had to do. How can we screw up this music to match the music they screwed up then? Eventually, Evan announces there is a date with 3 count contest. Not a date with Evan or Shane or Shannon. A date with 3 count.
Yes.
So, like, all I can think of is this is overthinking something.
This was an unmitigated disaster.
You have a perfectly fine boy band segment. These guys will come out, dance to their shitty song, everyone will boo. That's fine. That works. That's like Nikolai singing the Russian anthem. You don't have to mess with it. It will get heat every time. But they had to mess with it here and just make it convoluted and confusing. It goes forever. Finally, we get Norman Smiley and Evan Courageous, and the match goes 90 seconds. And Norman fights off interference, reverses a roll-up to win, and then they show Danny Hodge in the crowd.
Danny Hodge is cheering, hey!
Okay. Then Norman
Yeah.
who I believe now has beaten all three of them in individual matches.
Yes.
Now he wants to fight all three of them at once.
Yes. He says it's wiggle time. He goes into the aisle and he begins to wiggle in front of Doug Dillinger, who almost smiles. And it suddenly occurred to me that I have never seen Doug Dillinger smile.
Okay.
I'm the only one that cares. And Kayla changed her outfit.
Jay Biggs tells police officers that Booker is in possession of illegal contraband, tells the cops to search his bags. They find whatever he was looking for. And then,
A tea.
I guess. And Booker says he has Biggs says he has plans for Booker's music. The NWO walks. A limousine arrives. It's Flair with some women's.
Yeah.
Oh, the NWO promo.
Oh, my God.
Where to begin with this?
Let's start with Scott Steiner comes out dressed like Dennis Rodman. He's wearing this purple outfit.
A purple fur cowboy hat.
A monstrosity.
I think it was purple paisley shirt.
Yep. Because, you see, he's the original Purple Wang.
Well, actually, he called himself, everyone, the Purple Warrior.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, he is supposed to be a giant, jacked-up penis.
Yes.
So, by the way, Shane, I don't know how long you've been following along, but about a year and a half ago, Scott Steiner started this gimmick. He was Hollywood. Wasn't it Hollywood Scott Steiner?
For like a week, yeah.
Yeah. He was atrocious.
There was White Lightning Scott Steiner.
He's just Scott Rex Steiner.
Yeah.
Just a college athlete.
Just a large, muscular man with a terrible haircut.
They turned him into this Hollywood guy. He was so nervous. He was so wretched. It was just the worst. And I guess he just started to watch his Superstar Billy Graham tapes. And now he's the fucking best.
Yes.
Now he does do one of the dumbest but most awesome promos I've ever heard. He comes out and he starts to unleash on Ric Flair. Says, Rick, you should have skipped the limo ride and taken a cab and used that money to fix your crooked yellow teeth.
Yeah.
WCW should have hired the original Nature Boy, Buddy Rogers. But he's dead. Just like your career is dead, Rick. And Buddy's still styling and profiling 6 feet under. Flair, you stole his name, but you couldn't steal his class. I know. He says he knows he wasn't alone. When Flair came out last week, himself and everyone else switched to WWE to see Stone Cold.
That's what he said.
A guy who Flair and all of his friends got fired from here because Flair is a jealous old bastard. Says Flair, in this business, there has never been a bigger ass-kissing, butt-sucking bastard. He's trying to say this, by the way. I can't do justice to how badly he screwed up. Jealous, butt-sucking bastard. He mutilated it. He finally spits it out and says, Flair, you deserve to be in WCW because WCW sucks, and so do you. And then he adds, I'll stay here in the NWO for life. He fucking buried WCW.
Yeah.
6 feet under. He buried Ric Flair.
For no reason, by the way.
No! I don't even know why he's mad at Ric Flair. Why is he mad at Rick?
I think Scott Rex Steiner is mad at Richard Fleer for not retiring.
Rick is supposed to be a heel.
Yeah, so Scott.
The NWO are heels.
Yeah.
There's no feud here that I'm aware of. Like, it was bizarre. But it was amazing.
Yes. The best part to me is watching Jeff Jarrett and Scott Hall and the Harris twins in the background all look at each other because I don't think any of them knew this was coming. But they're all kind of looking at him like, well, you go interrupt him. I'm not interrupting him.
Nobody was interrupting this guy.
We'll just let him go.
There was also a great moment before he started talking where Mark Mann goes, they were in Tulsa. And Mann goes, you know what you get when you spell Tulsa backwards? There's a long pause, and Tony says, no, I don't. And they moved on. The answer, everyone, is a slut.
Oh, Brian.
Yeah. That's what you get when you spell it backwards.
So eventually, Jarrett lets Steiner speak his mind.
He sure did.
And then just gets back to work. He moves on with business. He announces Mark Johnson will be the referee for his match with Sid.
Slick Johnson. He hasn't been a heel ref in 2 years. But now he's a heel ref again.
That would also be a no DQ match. And then for tonight, he booked Sid Vicious against Scott Hall.
Oh, can you imagine?
Scott Hall's very upset by this. He fakes a limp to say he's hurt, and even better, he uses hand gestures to indicate Sid is tall and big.
Yeah, he does not care.
Keep in mind,
He's trying to get fired.
Scott Hall's 6'5" and 300 pounds himself.
Yes.
So he's also tall and big, but yeah. Booker. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. So this segment, you were right. That promo was awesome, but I literally wrote, it's a weird as fuck promo. Like,
yeah.
I didn't know what was going on. And then I will put one thing over for it, and actually it's this whole show. They're building the pay-per-view. It's 13 days away, and they did a bunch of little things building up the matches on it, like graphics, which is something I remember reading in your book was not something they always did.
No. When Russo was in charge, they never built... I mean, they really never built to pay-per-views. It was all about getting ratings, and this crew is at least trying to build up pay-per-view matches to make some money.
Yep. And then my favorite line is at the end. Jarrett says, Scott Hall will be all up in Sid's ass. And I was just like, we need to work on phrasing, guys. That was...
Yeah. Booker and Midnight walk backstage. Booker declares, they'll take my colors, they'll take my music.
His colors?
Apparently he can't use flames anymore.
Oh, huh.
They'll never take my dignity.
Thus his dignity is signed with Harlem Heat Incorporated.
Dignity. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gene interviews David Flair, who has an I Quit match tonight against Terry Funk.
This was actually not a bad promo. He's got a match with Terry Funk later, an I Quit match. Of course, Flair and Funk had a famous one in 1989.
Ric Flair, yes.
Yes, and David says, tonight, I'll fight one of my father's battles for him. I watched this and I thought, you know what? This fucking guy could have been something. But they fucked it up. Like, look at Charlotte. Yeah. She never even wanted to be a wrestler.
No.
She decided she wanted to be a wrestler because Reed died. Mm-hmm. Like, if David wanted to be a wrestler, and he would have had the opportunities that they have nowadays. I'm not talking about when they bought his contract and sent him to developmental. I mean, he could have been something. But such is life. Mm-hmm. Now he's just a crazy guy on this show.
My favorite part of this segment was when David leaves, and so Crowbar and Daphne do like a huddle, and they break the huddle with a chant of outside interference. 1, 2, 3. I laughed. So Booker, they took his Harlem Heat music away. I think the actual music they gave him at the time was more like Leave It to Beaver. Here they edited in some wacky polka music. It's Booker versus The Wall.
Can you explain to me why The Wall is getting a push?
No.
Wall.
He's big. I can't. You know what? I can. He's big, and Hulk Hogan is coming back and needs a big guy to fight.
That's true.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought of that.
So, in 3 minutes, Booker hits the axe kick. He hits the spinneroonie. He hits the bookend. The place is going nuts like this is a major star. And he's been Booker T for a long time, but he's not gotten a reaction like this. And then J Biggs distracts him, and The Wall hits a chokeslam and pins him.
The Wall pinned Booker T.
Yes. So at this point, Biggs orders the cops to arrest Booker for a number of charges related to the beating last week, including attempted murder.
Attempted murder.
I mean, assault.
Isn't that everything on this show?
Assault for sure.
Yeah, I don't know about attempted murder.
He definitely assaulted J Biggs. That's no doubt about that.
Very, very excessive. And then Tony Schiavone actually says, nobody has ever been arrested on Nitro before. What?
I don't know. Brian Knobbs screams at Jarrett. I don't want to go into the whole rigmarole they did last week, but he's mad at him. So he says again...
Well, allow me, Vinny.
Okay.
Last week, Brian Knobbs wanted a match with Finlay. And Jarrett said, you want to be in the same ring with Finlay? Fine, it's on. And ended up being Finlay was the referee, and Knobbs faced somebody else and got beat up. Lex Luger, right?
Yeah.
So this week, Jarrett says, if you'd paid me more, you would have wrestled Finlay. Mm-hmm. And then he goes, do you want to be in the same ring with Finlay tonight? The same fucking question that he asked the guy last week.
Yep.
That got him into this mess.
Yep.
And this fucking moron Knobbs goes, yeah!
Yep.
And the same thing happened again.
Yes.
He can't be a babyface. He's
No.
too dumb.
Are you kidding? No.
Well, it's WCW, so
That's
anything's
fair.
possible.
That's
But
Yeah, they didn't even tease it for later. He walks out of the room. They all laugh at him for being stupid, and they
Yep.
say Bam Bam Bigelow will be his opponent.
Yep.
And Phil will be the ref. Terry Funk questions Arn's loyalty,
yep.
and Arn says, "Well, we'll see how you handle yourself in this match against David Flair tonight."
Funk tells him a man's got to do what a man's got to do.
Lenny and Lodi say they're going to challenge the Mamalukes. They had lines in here saying, "We need a tag team Nizam."
God.
And afterwards, we'll go chase rats.
Yeah.
Tank Abbott versus the Barbarian.
Who has long hair now.
And, like, clothes.
It was weird.
Yes.
He looked like... I don't know what he looked like. He looked like a barbarian.
No. They had a sloppy brawl. The ref tried to get between them to separate them, and this gave Tank a chance to hit a big punch and knock Barbarian out and win via KO. Mm-hmm. As he is leaving, Big Al tries to confront Tank. The Tank blows him off.
This fucking feud. Tank and Big Al.
It's like Tank says, "Hey, I've got a friend I wanted to do an angle with."
Yeah, that's
And
what
they,
happened.
And they asked no more questions.
No.
They just said, "Cool."
What's his name? Big Al. Bring him in.
I don't even ask that. I think they just said, "Okay, Tank." Okay,
Sure.
Mr. Rabbit. Crowbar finds the demon's casket.
I wrote crypt.
He rocks out in front of the casket, and then
Yeah.
Daphne screams, and he goes back to see what's going on. The kid cam is back,
Tori's in the women's locker room filming all the chicks naked, apparently.
I guess.
That's exactly what happened.
Well, that's not what happened. What they talked about.
No, Tori goes, put that thing away. He goes, not when there's so many naked women around. And she goes, ha 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 ha. She kisses him. It's like, this is weird.
It is weird.
This is bizarre.
An Oklahoma promo.
Oh, good.
Dude, when this guy came out, I thought, am I watching the wrong show? Why is Oklahoma out here? For a wretched, Russo-rific segment.
Yes, it was.
This was horrible.
So, last we saw Oklahoma, he was breaking bottles over women's head and pouring barbecue sauce on them and winning the Cruiserweight Championship. for them.
Yes, correct.
Now he announces he is GM of the WCW Women's Division.
Yes.
The first thing he says as general manager of the women's division is that women have no place in wrestling, but it's adorable they keep trying. What the fuck, dude?
Dude, it gets worse. He goes, all of the women will need intense physical examinations, and I will be present for all of them.
Yes.
Can you imagine that line in 2019?
No. So he brings out a man he claims is Dr. Haywood Jeter to discuss this medical testing.
Haywood Jeter.
Yeah. He says this is Medusa's plastic surgeon. And Dr. Jeter announces, or he answers the questions, but he says he has worked on Medusa's nose, eyes, lips, chest, and ass.
Has her chest been augmented? Has her ass been augmented? The doctor says yes. I'm not sure that's legal. Seems to be like a HIPAA violation.
He even noted.
They
that
even
there's-
said that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a doctor-patient privilege or whatever.
Yeah.
So Medusa comes out.
Her chest has, in fact, been
There's
augmented.
no question.
Holy
I
Jesus.
can confirm an augmented chest.
Yes. She slaps and kicks the doctor. The only good thing in this entire segment, after she leaves the doctor out, she looks at Oklahoma and shouts, "And you, asshole!" And she kicks him in the head.
Then she stomped his nuts.
She kicked him in the balls.
This show is wretched.
What a terrible segment I wrote.
It was horrible.
The worst part was Medusa was getting out of the ring after this terrible segment, and some guy in the first row reaches over and literally grabs her chest, and she like almost murdered him. Oh,
Should have.
It was terrible. Yeah. Ugh.
Flair and his harem are watching themselves on TV backstage. Gene says the executive board has been in a meeting, and Terry Taylor is coming with big news.
They've been in a meeting for hours.
Terry Funk walks. Flair and Crowbar walk. Taylor has his big announcement.
Yeah, this is what they spent hours talking about. He says, so Jeff Jarrett's been making matches, and the executive board, we can't change the matches he has signed. But we can change the stipulations. What?
I don't know.
He says, Slick Johnson no longer the referee. Sid versus Hall tonight is now a title match. So the storyline is Jeff Jarrett wants to win the WCW title. So if Hall wins tonight, he will not have the opportunity to win the WCW title from Sid. They even have Jarrett backstage explaining this. And Scott Hall saying, I'm just going to soften him up for you. So keep all of that in mind, please.
So Jarrett is outraged about this announcement that Scott Hall will get a title shot tonight. Have a video package of the Flair Funk I Quit match from 1989.
That was better than David Flair versus Terry Funk, I can confirm.
I will say about this the talking segment here, Mark Mann has a lot of one-liners. Some of them are funny. Some of them are going to piss me off. He has tremendous delivery.
Yeah.
His voice is fantastic. So we get Terry Funk versus David Flair in an I Quit match. And the whole match is Funk is beating David's ass and wanting Rick to come out instead.
Well, first he cuts a promo on Rick and he says, come down here and face me in an I Quit match. You're a 14-time champion. You should be proud of that. But it means you've had your ass beat 14 times. Come on down here. I'll kick your ass for the 15th time. So he turns around and David has a chair. David Flair gives him 5 unprotected chair shots to the head of this 54-year-old man bending the chair.
Check. That happened, yeah.
Funk then beats the shit out of him.
No.
Pile drives him on the mat. Pile drives him on the floor. Says, you better come out here, Flair, while your kid's damn well alive. Do you quit, you little bastard? David says, I ain't quitting. Never knew he was so tough.
Yeah. So they recreate the pile driver through the table spot that Funk did with David's dad.
Yep.
Still won't quit. And after all of this beating, let's review. Pile driver on the mats outside.
Yep.
Pile driver on the cement outside. Pile driver through the table outside. Now Funk's just going to do like an elbow through a table.
Yeah.
And he gives Ric Flair one more chance to come out.
He's still upset that Flair told him that he lives on a chicken ranch.
Yes.
I don't need any goddamn chickens like you, he says.
Yes.
And he goes, I don't need to beat on this kid anymore. I'll quit now, but I'm not going to quit when I get my hands on you, Ric Flair, later. So he quit.
Yeah.
So David Flair won an I Quit match against Terry Funk.
Yes.
This show is atrocious.
So Mike Tenay is looking on at this in disapproval.
You don't say.
Arn tells him to get a camera crew ready. They go to break. When they come back, Arn says, that was a beating David didn't have to take. I almost agree with Scott Steiner.
Where was his father?
Ric Flair's dancing around with 3 broads when he should have been that kid's dad. And Funk, you went out and did that. Flair let it happen. I'm bowing out of this whole thing. I feel like stepping out of the human race. This made him sick to his stomach. He doesn't want any part of it.
Man.
Well, they're sure getting me to cheer for these guys, aren't they?
Hey, I don't think they know who's supposed to be over right now.
Disco Inferno versus Stevie Ray.
I wrote Stevie Richards. I was baffled. Thank you for correcting my notes.
Disco was shredded tonight, by the way.
Yeah, Stevie
Wasn't.
pedigreed him in one. That's it.
There's a slapjack and stuff, but yeah, the Tiger Driver 91. Really, this one was.
Yes.
Sometimes he did his pedigree, but he does a little lift first, but still drops him in pedigree. This one, he pretty much dropped Disco right in his head.
So let me recap the next segment. Scott Hall is with Jeff Jarrett, okay? Jeff Jarrett is upset that the title is on the line tonight. Scott Hall says, listen, even if I win, the belt stays in the family. Jeff is not happy with this. So Scott Hall says, don't worry about it. I'm just going to soften Sid up for you. Clear?
Yes.
Clear.
Thank you.
I do want to add, Jarrett pulls Hall aside and asks, do you know why they're giving you this title shot? And Hall says, yeah, I've been owed a title shot since I won that World War III thing in 1997.
He's not wrong.
No.
That's the best part.
I missed that.
2.5 years later.
He's not wrong.
I like that he termed it that World War III thing.
That's what it fucking was.
It absolutely was. Gene interviews Sid. Sid says, everyone treats the NWO like a 6-headed monster. Tonight, Scott Hall faces final extinction and total oblivion. Fighting words.
This is the first Sid interview I've ever seen, and I want to watch all of them.
This is the first Sid interview you've ever seen?
Yes.
Oh, my God. Go back like 5 months.
Oh.
It's incredible what you've missed.
Find the one he did in the Alamo Dome.
There's one in the Alamo Dome that's great.
Yes.
And there's a lot of others that are not great, but that's why they're great.
Even his bad ones are great.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
Flair leaves the women. Why did he even come to this building?
What?
He brought 3 women to the building. They watched themselves on a monitor. He left.
Well, maybe he had a plan, but then that whole David thing happened.
I suppose. He tells Arn, "You're in way over your head."
And then he adds, "I had something special for Arn tonight." One of the women.
I see.
He can't believe that Arn is mad at him when he had a woman for him. It's a nature boy. He's off to party.
Yeah. Bam Bam Bigelow versus Brian Knobbs with Finley as ref.
Just shit.
Here's everything I wrote down. Finley gives Knobbs a trash can, but then hits him with a chair and fast counts him.
I wrote, what is the point of this story? Knobbs wrestling with a broken arm. This is awful. Goofy hardcore match. Finley hits Knobbs with a chair, puts Bigelow on top for the pin. Earlier, he'd helped Knobbs. Bigelow, new champion. This sucks. I'm over it.
Yeah.
Shane, your thoughts?
I miss anything?
No, I wrote basically exact same thing. Fucking sucked. The one thing I did rate, I was so angry. Tony Schiavone had a line after Bigelow hit Knobbs' arm with the crutch, and he used the phrase aluminum crutch, and I'm like, dude, can you just sell this is like a metal crutch or
like
something?
Like steel?
Yeah.
Yes.
It was
Platinum.
just awful.
He's done that before, if I recall correctly. There was an aluminum ladder or something.
Yeah, it was just...
Yeah, he said something about the ladder's made of aluminum. I'm like, no, it's made of metal. It's made of titanium. It's hard.
The Mama Luke's brawl with Lenny and Lodi.
Yippee.
Kidman and Tori are messing around with the camera backstage.
Okay, so as much as I hate this show, okay, there are some things that I like about the show, and one of them is this. We had the fucking Kiss Demon against Kidman, okay? A guy dressed up as Kiss wrestling Billy Kidman. They go out there, they have a match, it's whatever, and then Kidman wins with a top rope Frankensteiner, which is better than the shooting star for this guy. So when the match is over, Crowbar runs down and he attacks Kidman. Great! He's a Kiss fan.
Yes, they established
This was established earlier in the show.
and last week.
That Crowbar loves Kiss.
Yes.
Kidman beat the Kiss Demon. Now Crowbar's mad. Great. That made me happy. Match was whatever.
Sense.
It did make sense. That's all I asked for.
So the most shocking thing on either show this week, they actually played God of Thunder for the Demon.
Yeah.
How Gene Simmons let this pass, I'll never know. So, among the matches, they are billing for SuperBrawl. They are. You mentioned this earlier, and it's true. They are advertising matches on the show to get you to buy them.
And what a match.
Demon versus a mystery opponent.
Yes.
Where's my cable bill? I gotta call this fucker right now. Okay, Sid smiles and laughs backstage.
Awesome.
Lex has a chair with Hulkster's name on it. Scott Hall assures the NWO it's all under control. Somewhere in here, Total Package versus Hulk Hogan is officially announced for SuperBrawl.
Yep.
Lex Luger promo.
Lex comes out for the promo. They actually showed a replay of Hulk Hogan giving Liz the most ridiculous atomic drop in the history of wrestling. They showed a replay of this.
So
That was too much for me.
So Lex has been a comedy act for months, and now they decided he's supposed to be a badass. So he's insisting he's no comedy act. Since Hulk's not here, let's talk to Hulk's best friend, Jimmy Hart. Jimmy comes out, says Lex is a Hulk Hogan wannabe. He will never sell out arenas like Hulk Hogan. He will never sell merchandise like Hulk Hogan. And Lex says the difference between me and Hulk Hogan is I have a vicious streak. And he lays Jimmy out. He Pillmanizes his arm, breaks his arm, just like he did to Brian Knobbs last week. He'll see Hulk Hogan at SuperBrawl.
See, this was one of those things where it wasn't bad. It's like he's feuding with Hogan. Jimmy Hart is Hogan's friend, and he broke his arm, and that's that. But the problem is, Luger has no credibility. because he's been a comedy geek. Hogan hasn't even been around. And, like, nobody cared about Jimmy. He's out there dressed as a production guy.
Yeah.
It was like, on paper, it's a good idea. It's a good idea. It's like it makes sense, but it just did not work here.
Scott Hall walks. Sid Vicious walks and also screams his own name.
Yeah. It's like a yes chant.
Sid. By himself.
Yeah.
So we get Sid Vicious versus Scott Hall.
They got 4 minutes.
It took them... 3 of those minutes came after the ref bump.
Yes.
There's a ref bump. Hall calls out Jarrett. It's 2-on-1 now. And then Jarrett just starts to leave. The match isn't over. The title's still on the line. He just goes to walk away. Scott Hall, and I was stunned. I noticed Scott Hall is a big guy, but he is in fact smaller than Sid. He got Sid up for the Razor's Edge.
Sure did, yeah.
That was mighty. I'm stunned. Jarrett is even more stunned because he thinks he's going to lose a title shot now. He runs down.
So you understand.
I do understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Hall hits the edge. He goes for the cover. Jarrett is infuriated.
Yeah.
He doesn't want Hall to win his title.
Nope.
He runs down there and he hits him with a guitar. And he puts Sid on top and Sid retains the title. None of the announcers can figure out why he did this. I was so angry. This was explained in like 3 different segments. These fucking announcers can't figure out why Jeff Jarrett hit Scott Hall with a guitar. I don't know why that made me so mad. It's like,
I don't either.
For once, there's something in WCW that actually makes sense, and the announcers have to act like it doesn't make sense, even though it does. And they explained it 3 times on this show. That was a horrible show.
I was mad because the NWO just got together like 3 weeks ago after like 6 months of tease and build.
Yeah.
And it's a month later. Brett's gone. Nash is apparently gone. Jarrett is now fighting with Hall. What's the point?
I have no idea. I have no idea.
Shane, any final thoughts before I get into these things?
Was this your first ever Nitro, Shane?
It was.
Oh my God.
I know. They're not all this bad. Some are much worse.
You jumped in the deep end. Yeah, this was not the worst Nitro we've ever seen, but it was very, very bad.
Oh, God. The one thing, you basically captured all of my feelings. The one thing I will say is, Brian, you complain all the time about Shane McMahon's punches.
Yes.
I think Sid's are worse. Because
They're up there.
And the only reason I say this is because when Sid got up on that middle rope and started punching Hall, they were so slow and you could like see that they weren't connecting. At least when Shane does it, he's like using high velocity, so like you could be like, maybe it's the speed that's hurting them.
Well, it's a different kind of bad punch.
Shane's are worse, but Sid's are funnier.
Well, how can I describe this? Sid doesn't look like he's doing any damage. It looks fake.
Right.
It's like a guy throwing fake punches, okay? Shane also looks like a guy throwing fake punches, but Shane looks like a guy who knows how to punch throwing fake punches.
Okay, that's fair.
Sid looks like a guy who doesn't know how to punch, pretending like he's punching. And the big difference is, if I had to choose which guy was going to punch me, I'd choose Sid, because Sid will not touch me. Shane will throw terrible punches and hurt me.
That is a fair.
That's a good point. The other big difference is Sid will throw a horrible punch, and it will be horrible, but the guy will know it's a horrible punch and he will sell it.
Yes.
And then Sid will throw another horrible punch. Shane will throw a punch that the other wrestler can't even identify as a strike or if it landed, so he doesn't sell it.
Yes.
So Sid,
and then he gets hit really hard.
When Sid's throwing punches, it's bad pro wrestling. When Shane's throwing punches, it's one guy shadowboxing the other guy not knowing what to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they're both terrible.
They're both awful.
Don't get me wrong.
Do not
Sid
punch like either man.
Has horrifically, hilariously bad punches.
Yes.
Part of his charm.
Kind of.
It's just funny when you see a guy that big and you think that he's a striker. You know what I mean?
Oh,
he's not a grappler. He's a striker.
I never thought about Sid's fighting style.
But he can't. You know what I'm saying? He's an amazing guy.
He is amazing.
You know, Shane, he's in the Hall of Awesome.
He is. I love that episode. Oh, he's so great.
He's the best.
I need to watch more of him.
He's the best. Vinny, are you ready for your report?
Brian, I'm always ready. The finishes on this show were pin despite interference, pin after distraction, Ref stoppage due to KO. I quit match ends when the guy who was winning quit. Pin after a tease of a weapon shot. Pin after interference and fast count by a crooked ref. Clean pin. And then pin after a guitar shot by a guy's pal.
There you go. That is the finishes report. Shane.
Yes.
I can't thank you enough. Not only a wonderful donation to Whale Scout, which we really appreciate, but coming on this show and watching Nitro. For the first time, you watched Nitro just to do this show.
I did, and it was an experience.
It sure was. Will you ever watch it again?
Yes, I will go back and watch the Monday Night Wars. I need to experience it at least, so at least once, so I can know how bad it was. And so the funny thing is, I was watching my son this evening. I watched Nitro tonight, and I have a 14-month-old. And he sat on the floor and he watched Nitro with me. I tagged you guys in the photo on Twitter.
I did see that.
Yeah, and I was just like, I feel so bad for the kid. But he loves wrestling. And so I need to teach him good wrestling versus this Nitro. So,
yeah, you need to get him watching something else.
Yeah.
Get a New Japan World subscription or something.
That's what I think my next step is.
Yeah, definitely not this. Paisley will not watch any wrestling. She walks in, she looks at the TV, she goes, "Daddy doing gymnastics," and then she just moves on with her life. I like it better that way. Let's get some plugs in here, Shane. What would you like to plug?
Sure. So you can follow me on Twitter at 1000 Realities. It's the number 1000. I have to specify that. At 1000 Realities. I also have a Twitch. I stream video games on 4 days a week. As like a hobby because my wife said I needed one. So it's twitch.tv.
Hang on, wait.
Oh, no, Vinny.
Your wife got so annoyed with you that she told you to go play video games?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
Just because...
Not annoyed, Vinny, but just feeling like this man needs a hobby.
Because he's annoying her.
He's watching Nitro.
Well,
there's got to be something better to do.
Exactly. So that's twitch.tv/1000 Realities, and that is all spelled out. Because, whatever. And then the other thing is I host a podcast called Chicago Geek Society.
Sounds awesome.
It does, actually.
Yeah, so we're a group. It's me, my wife, and our friend Steve. We talk about, video game reviews, movie reviews. We do a little wrestling here and there if I can convince them to watch it. And you can follow us at Chicago Geek SOC on Twitter. And those are my plugs.
Have you grabbed a geek shirt for you and your co-hosts for the podcast?
I have not, and I've actually been thinking about it because those shirts are perfect.
Just wanted to throw that out there to everybody.
Yeah. Oh, and I did want to say, if Ed in San Antonio wants to hire me to DJ the Wrestling Observer Convention, I'll do it.
Dude, better you than Ed. Tell you that much.
That's true. I've never met the guy, but he sounds great.
I do love this picture you have on your Twitter. 1000 Realities. It's me, you, and Filthy Tom, and I look like your 14-month-old in this picture right here. You're a very, very tall man, Shane.
I'm a tall guy.
Yeah. Well, listen, thanks so much for doing the show here today, and keep in touch. You now have 110 followers because I've followed you here at 1000 Realities here on Twitter, everybody. There's a lovely picture of your young child watching a graphic for Terry Funk and David Flair. Poor kid, he writes, I'll say. But yeah, we really appreciate it. Whitney says thank you, and keep in touch. And that's it, everybody. We're out of here. We're going to wrap it up. We will be back at some point. I'll be Observer Live. I'll do the Observer Live shows, Observer Radio. Brian and Vinny will depend on the snow over the weekend.
We'll see how it goes.
We'll keep everybody updated, and that is it. We will talk to you again after a while.
Bye.
Bye.